Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for our Design Review Committee meeting. So we appreciate your attendance. And first, we will go through our cases and allow for public comment and then meet with the applicant. Before we begin, let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We'll begin. Item number 1. Roll call. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Lakin,
Present.
Commissioner Chang, or Committee Member Chang, sorry.
Yes, present.
Committee Member Banji,
Sure, President.
sorry, can you pronounce her last
That's okay,
name?
Benij.
Benij, I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm gonna do it again. Councilmember Market,
Present.
present. Councilmember Rick Chow,
Present.
and Councilmember, or Committee Member, sorry, Tony Chow.
Present.
I just give you all promotion, sorry. Please note that Chair Peter Wong is absent. Crystal Lakin, Vice Chair, will be filling in as Chair.
Great. All right, our first item is DRC case 21-15, 626 Chaucer Road. May I please have the staff report?
Sure. Applicant for 626 Chaucer Road, the applicant proposes to construct an approximately 92 square foot second story addition to an existing approximately 3,026 square foot two-story residence. The proposed second story addition will feature a new walk-in closet attached to the existing master bedroom. Project of site is currently improved with a two-story single-family home with a detached three-car garage on an 18,867 square foot lot in the R1 zone, District 2. Sorry, this is my first meeting. Do you need me to read the recommendations?
No, thank you.
Okay.
That was great. Thank you. Do any committee members have questions for staff? Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The last time this was before the committee, I noted that there was a letter of objection, but no information on that objection. Has staff received any details on that letter of objection from the owner of 605 Chaucer, or any more information on that?
I have not received more details as of last hearing on that objection. I don't think we had anything else, and I'm checking the file right now just to make sure that there was no other comments associated other than that it was checked off. Yeah, that was the extent of their comment, just that they object.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Go ahead.
I seem to remember from the last meeting that there was some discussion about the drainage.
Yes.
And I was wondering if I missed that, or if that was addressed in this iteration, in this application.
We're recommending that you ask the applicant about
Okay.
it, what the plans that we have. They were provided, they were here, they had the notes, and we have the updates that they were given. And if it isn't to your satisfaction, I would recommend that you ask the applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? No more questions?
No.
Okay, may I please have the applicant or the representative present the project or be available for questions?
And I believe the applicant is on, joining us via Zoom.
Can the applicant go ahead?
Hi, my name is Lyndon Shao. I'm the applicant. I have my representative, David Chun, with Chun Studio. Present.
Okay, who's speaking right now? Is it the representative or the owner?
Yeah, this is the owner, Lyndon
Okay.
Shao. the representative, David Chun with Chun Studio, is on the call as well. Can I pass it on to you, David?
Yeah, sorry. My computer, I had to go on my phone because I couldn't hear the audio on my computer for some reason. Hi, David Chun. I'm the architect of record here. Yeah, I'm present.
Okay, go ahead. Did you want to go over the project?
Sure. So the project is a very small addition toward the back of the house, not visible from the street. And it's an addition of about 80 square feet. And it's just a closet space. And this is our second time presenting.
Okay, great. Do we have any more? Are you finished with your presentation? We can go ahead.
Yeah, that's just a very simple description of the scope of work. I'm not sure if I should
Okay.
go into the design of it.
Okay, great. We have some questions for you, I believe. Would someone like to go ahead?
Thank you, Chair. Mr. Chong, a couple of questions. One, it is critical to make sure all the details adhere to the existing building. So my committee member, fellow committee member has said that about drainage. I see that on A 2.0, it appears to me that you are draining to pretty much right below the existing opening. And you drain away from the closet and also northerly and southerly towards about the middle of the patio. And so everything drained to that opening. It appears to be a scupper, and then you go out to a downspout to collect the water. Is that how you handle the drainage?
That's correct. We're sloping away from the opening of the existing door, sloping away from the new proposed closet wall, and it would all collect at one point there with a scupper and downspout.
I see. And what material is that on the patio?
Currently, it's like a skim coat concrete, so it's not difficult to match. It's a pretty common finish that could be replicated.
I see. And I guess also on the new addition, you create another California roof into the existing roof line. And I guess you would also provide the correct gutter and downspout. And how is that being treated to bring the water down? You bring it down to the patio and let it drain naturally, or you're carrying it outside?
No, we're actually carrying it to the same existing downspout that's there, but there is a continuous gutter that wraps around the proposed addition, and so we'll route the water around the proposed roof line and drain it in the same downspout.
Okay, all right.
Wait, the same downspout?
Well, you're pretty much following the existing downspout location and just wrap around the eave line to pick it up there, right?
That's correct.
So that you will not be another location for the downspout.
That's correct. That's
Yeah.
correct.
What about the window inside that closet? The style, the type, I want to make sure that you understand what window are you putting in?
Yeah, I mean, it is we're trying to do our best to better integrate the addition, given all of the feedback we got from the board in our first presentation. So it's a very simple opening. It helps to better articulate the addition. It sort of went against, honestly, it sort of went against what the historical consultant advised us on, quite frankly, because, he was suggesting that the addition should be differentiated, architecturally, aesthetically from the existing to maintain the integrity of the existing. But at the same time, apparently what that sort of caused was, I think the board felt initially that it felt too disconnected. And so we really made an effort here to, have some of the similar consistent features of the existing historical building and we, articulated this addition by, doing a hip roof that's, consistent stylistically with the existing house, and, added a window there to have this sort of a more consistent articulation of the outside. So it really became more of a statement, I guess, a feature of the house. And I feel like it kind of goes against what the historical consultant advised, to make sure it's very, very distinguishable. But I feel like this is a more harmonious addition because it is, I guess, more, compatible or consistent with what's there.
Yeah, well, I for something this small, I agree that the approach should be make it as seamless as possible. I think that's fine. So I just want to verify that you call it to be a wood window. Are you going to be able to find a wood window very much similar to what the existing window is like, as far as the style, the thickness, the configuration of the sill and the head?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we want to make sure that it is consistent with the existing windows. I mean, I think it's important for it to read consistently, and it would be a wood window, and we would match the style and the divisions as needed to match it as best we can.
Okay. One last question then. The roof tile, you read the staff report. It definitely need to match the existing with the double layer of the clay tile. So you have no problem with that, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have every intention to make that seamless.
Okay, I don't have any further question. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have questions? Go ahead, Commissioner McKay.
Thank you. In addition to, did we lose the applicant's representative?
No, the Zoom that's being displayed right now on our screen
Okay.
shows who's speaking, and then when he speaks again, or anyone speaks, they should play on the screen.
Thank you. In addition to asking for more detailed plans regarding drainage, at the September 1, 2021 meeting on this application, the committee had also asked that the structural integrity of this addition be considered. And I wanted the applicant's representative to speak to that, please.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, we did consult with our structural engineer, and he felt that given the loads that we're proposing, that the vertical load would not be a problem. He did say that we would have to sort of consider the seismic loads. So the simple solution that we came up with is to simply add a shear wall, which is for the existing wall on the ground floor. So you'll see that wall kind of as the main wall of the house, where you see the French doors, the wooden French doors that open out onto the patio. So that particular wall, we would basically make that into a shear wall. So what that would require would be, obviously a shear panel, which would just be a 1/2-inch plywood with, the corresponding nailing and hold downs, etc. So that it's basically a matter of adding that 1/2-inch. So what we would have to do is either install this plywood either on the inside or the outside, and we would have to install this not just that one panel, but it would be continuous from one end to the other, so that, you know, it wouldn't have any aesthetic impact, basically. That, you know, we would add the shear panel, you know, add whatever structural details that are required, and we would basically refinish it to match the existing. So, you know, aesthetically, it would really have no impact.
I have a question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, go
I
ahead.
have a question for the
Committee member.
applicant. So quite a few of my questions have been covered by my fellow committee members. So I just want to follow up with one question. You understand, of course, this is a property is identified on the citywide historic resource survey report as a potential historic resource. So you can understand why we go into the details, want to make sure that everything is done properly, even that is just a small addition in the back. This property certainly is, I think, is a very good example of a quality home. You visit the site, from the tiles, from all the bonus finish, everything, the stucco finish. So my question meaning is, I just want to make sure that when you do the addition in the back, because the balcony area has this nice bonus top. So obviously that has to, in your current plan, your previous plan, you opted to keep that bonus finish, but the concern there, our committee feedback at that point was, well, that looked a little bit kind of hodgepodge. So I see your plan now is to make it smooth, that portion, that 90-degree turn from the east side to the, from one side to the backyard side. So how do you see that you might potentially need to finish that whole balcony area? How, or do you feel after talking to your contractor, whoever is doing the work, what is your approach there to make sure it's done correctly? So we don't have kind of a too uneven surfaces, so to speak. Thank you.
Yeah, so, thank you. So yeah, that detail, you know, we did sort of think about quite a lot, and you know, this is the detail on top of the balcony on the exterior, that sort of the rounded detail. I think sort of upon sort of like further kind of observation, thinking about and observing, we came with we came to a conclusion that really detail really defined the railing, basically the outside railing, and to sort of continue that around the blank wall, it just didn't seem like the correct language. Like it needed to follow the existing, whatever balcony is left, it should just follow that balcony, because that really defined the what was the beginning and end of the balcony. So it seemed more appropriate to end that detail for a flat surface, because it didn't really make sense to have that in the middle of the wall, which I think made it more kind of tacked on, or kind of an afterthought, or preserving something that didn't seem to follow the language of the original sort of intent of the architect. So we felt that it's more appropriate to end that detail where the balcony ended, and you know, sort of leave the blank wall as a blank wall, just like you find in the rest of the house.
Yes, thank you. I do notice that change, that detail, but I guess my question was that, so you will keep the balcony portion, the lower portion the same, and basically extend to make that transition, and you feel confident that you can do a good job making that transition.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I mean, we definitely, we feel the same as you guys do. honestly, is that it's a really beautiful house and it's, deserves to be, preserved and, keep its integrity and intact. And we have every intention of doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else have any questions?
One more follow-up question,
ahead.
if I may.
Go ahead.
Back to the structural shear wall. And I know you have the option of doing it in exterior or interior. I would probably strongly recommend you to consider the interior side of it. The fact that once you tear out the exterior and put the plywood on that side, you would have to carry it around to the other side. Otherwise, you have a change of thickness of the wall. And also, you would lose the detail to the French doors. So in order to maintain the integrity of the exterior look of the wall, and the shear wall from the interior side will probably make a lot more sense. So that you would have, you can work on that much easier in the interior than the exterior. Just a good suggestion that for you to consider.
Yeah, I see your point. We'll definitely talk to the structural engineer and the contractor to suggest that.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Great. Anyone else have any questions? No. I do have a couple questions. Oh, you mentioned that the historic preservation advisor recommended the differences in the addition with the original house. Which person was that? Do you have the name of the?
Yeah, her name is Laura Jansen.
Okay, Laura. Okay, you had said, I thought you had said he.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I was confused. Yeah, it's a she. Sorry.
Okay, okay. Okay, thank you. Are you, did you talk to your engineer about the concrete and the brick patio? Is that going to be needing any additional support to hold the balcony in the addition?
He felt that it wasn't necessary, based on the sort of the drawings and the dimensions that we provided of the existing. But that's what he told us. So I mean, we're going by that.
Okay, and the posts that are currently holding up the balcony, he believes are going to hold the room?
He does.
He does, okay. Could you tell me how thick the exterior wall is on the first floor? Underneath the balcony.
Underneath the balcony. I believe, let's see.
And probably the second floor as well, where you're going to cut the door.
Right.
Would that be the same width?
Yeah, I believe it's the same width, but we haven't obviously opened up the walls to know exactly, but it's it was built in 1970.
Well, yeah, I'm sorry, I should have said this earlier. I'm asking because some of the houses built then are very, very thick, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just curious how it's going to finish. If you thought about that with the connection with the addition.
How it's going to finish with you mean, so the new wall, how it's going to finish with the existing wall?
Well, no, the existing wall, but when you cut open to make the door to go into the closet, if you have, a foot exterior wall, foot deep or very deep exterior wall, how are you gonna round it or square it, or what were you thinking?
I would think that, we have to kind of like study how the opening is sort of detailed. I believe there's a little bullnose to it along the jamb and the header. So we would stay consistent with that and sort of, match how it was originally built.
Okay. Okay. Can you tell me one more thing? What is going on in the backyard? So it looks like there has been some work going on. my point is if you're in the backyard, what is the usage of the backyard now? So when you're in the backyard, how does the back of the home present? Are you, I don't know what's back there. Is it a pool? Is it sitting areas? Is it
It's a,
trees?
You want me to interject, David?
oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
okay, so I'm the owner of the property.
And excuse me, I'm sorry, but I'm asking you this because the back presence of the home could be very important to the enjoyment of the backyard. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm the owner of the property. Currently, there is no pool in the backyard. There's some hedges and a garden, a rose garden. There is no work going on right now. There are plans to possibly, redesign the backyard so that it's more functional, for my family, but there are no plans as of yet, and there has been no alteration.
I think I think you're asking that question to see if this addition will somehow impact the maybe the visibility of the backyard from the balcony. Is that what you're concerned?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think that the remaining balcony space is really quite sufficient. I guess that balcony was a later addition. The home was built in 1917, and there were 3 additions that were done, which hasn't been really specified, but the historian believes that was a later addition, that balcony. And I guess that balcony is pretty substantial even with the addition, and you do get that very expansive view. It's a very deep lot, so I personally don't think it has real any kind of a negative impact. I think it has the width to really capture visually the commanding view of the rest of the yard, all the way to the back.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? Is there anyone here who would here for public comments? No.
Sure, Vice Chair Lakeman, I did find what I believe to be the script for public comment, if you would like me to read off the instructions for public comment at this time.
Sure, go ahead. Thank you.
For each item on the agenda, there will be time for public comment. We accept comments in 3 ways. We will take in-person comment for each item. Please fill out a speaker card and turn it in to me if you would wish to, if you wish to speak on an item. I believe speaker cards are outside, or you can come up to the lineup in front of the mic. We accept comments via email sent to planning@cityofsanmarino.org. The email address is also found on today's agenda. Those will be read into the record. And then we will then ask for comments from our Zoom participants. When we ask for public comments via Zoom, there are 2 ways you can let us know you would like to speak. First, you can use the raise hand feature, which is a button that's found by clicking on participants and then clicking on raise hand on the bottom right side of the screen. Please do not use this feature until we have asked for public comment, or else we may not see it or not know which item you're asking to speak on. As a second option, you can send a message using the chat box saying you would like to speak on this particular agenda item. Comments will be accepted only until the end of the public comment period for that item.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
And I see none for this item on Zoom.
Okay, great. I'll close for public hearing. Committee members, we'll start with alternative member Tony Chow.
I appreciate the applicant for addressing the concerns we mentioned in the last meeting. I think it was really helpful this time to hear the detail and actually even the insight to the thought process. So thank you, appreciate it a lot, and I can support this project.
Great, thank you. Committee member Rick Chow.
Thank you. I think the committee tonight asked many detailed questions. In seeing the previous presentation and seeing the presentation tonight, I think the improvement there is obvious, and I think I can support the project moving forward as is per staff's finding and recommendation for the added conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member McKay.
Thank you. In reference to senior architectural historian Laura Jansen and her report of April 29, 2021, which we had considered when this project was last before us. 626 Chaucer is, as she noted, an excellent example of Spanish colonial revival residential architecture in our city. So the concerns of the committee are with the preservation of this gem in mind. I could support the project tonight with the conditions that have been outlined by staff and with a further note that the structural concerns, which we had raised before, must be taken into account. The applicant's representative has set forth their plans in that regard, but I think that it is important that that be noted for the record. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Cheng.
I can also support the project with what the comment has made. And I think the applicant and the architect had paid attention to our concern from the last meeting, and they have addressed it. And I think the architect and the owner understand the importance of carrying out the architectural integrity of the home so that we are not losing any part of it. So with that said, I can support it.
Thank you. Committee member Betnich.
I feel much the same way as my fellow committee members. I'm a little bit concerned about I mean, this was addressed by the owner's representative in a way that I found satisfactory, but I would like, since there was some reference in the architectural historian's comments on the new proposal that the window be slightly different in a way to differentiate from the rest of the property, and that the stucco or the cement be smooth. I'm not sure from what I'm hearing from my committee members and the applicant that the intent here is to be harmonious in as much as possible, since it's such a small addition with the rest of the structure, which I agree with. If there has to be, for some reason, because of the Secretary of Interior standards of differentiation, that could be maybe a very minor change in the window, or a very, very minor change in the roughness or the of the stucco or the cement skim coat, as the case may be. But I would prefer that it be, that if there has to be a differentiation because of the Secretary of Interior standards, that it be as minimal as possible, that it be either a very small difference in the grade of the stucco or the skim coat, or that perhaps a very minor change in the window style, or not style, in the window dimensions, or the window, the way the panes are set. Yeah, details. But yes, I find this to be an acceptable addition, and I'm glad that it was improved in the way that it was, which I think helped the project quite a bit. Thank you.
Thank you. And I find the addition to be acceptable. I would prefer it to be a little nice, a little more integrated into the original house. When I see the house from the back, my thought was that the window was too small and it is such a prominent facing that you really wouldn't see like a bathroom window in that kind of location in the back of the house. They would be on the side of the house, or there would be something different about it that would make it not look like a bathroom window on the side of the house. So I would like to have seen a little nicer window or something that blended into the home more and more of a, not a focal point, but something that you would expect to see in a house like this. Because one thing that's really nice about these homes is that every side of the home is beautiful. And so when I see the back, I still think it's a lovely home, and I understand wanting a closet, and I do respect the applicant and the architect's attempt to put a closet in the master bedroom, and that's not too much of an ask. So I don't know what the alternatives are. But ideally, I don't think it really is the best option for what we have. To be honest, the first time I saw it, I was thinking with the support beams that it looked a little bit like a tree house. And I know that there are differences we're supposed to see with the Secretary of Interior's standards. I recall our past assistant planner telling us that it would be the rafters. The rafters were the differentiating factor. And I think we should discuss if that is appropriate for the difference. Just the rafters. Do we have to have a smooth stucco? Or can they carry on the stucco that is already existing on the home? So that being said, I could support the project, presuming that structurally and the drainage situation is specified before we approved it. So.
Chair, may I suggest that we
Sure.
just have like a brief discussion about what
Yeah,
you
let's go
just
ahead.
said so
Yes, let's
that
go
we
ahead.
can address, because what is it about the window that you think would make it more compatible with the rest of the structure or look more integrated into the rest of
I
the
know.
structure?
I was thinking the same. I'm not quite sure. Did you have any
If I
suggestions?
may- if
Being the
I- if you don't
architect?
mind, Maybe I'll go ahead and add a comment to it.
And,
that-
and tell me if you disagree with me,
uh, Okay.
because that's okay.
If you look at the total addition of the closet,
Mhm.
it really isn't that big. So when we look at the plan view, I think what's proposed 2x3 window is probably the right proportion for that addition. If we try to pick the same size window with the rest of the home, which are much bigger rooms, it may look out of place. So I think the architect picked the right size window. And I think honestly, what you don't want to see is a big window with a lot of clothes
No,
hanging
right.
behind it. So I don't think that's going to be that helpful to the owner.
What about the recess, the way it's recessed?
The way it was recessed,
Mhm.
it
'Cause the
really,
windows are really deep.
you mean the detail? of the
Yes,
window?
and the other windows are very deep, and I think they even have like a
if
tile,
the- yeah.
tile on the sill.
I was gonna say that if these walls are thicker walls, like in the old 2x4s, are actually 4 inches. The current 2x4s are 3.5 inch, so there's already a 1/2 inch difference. And the old 2x4s in today, if those are 2x6 walls, they actually 6 inches plus another inch, that'd be like an 8-inch wall already back in the 20s and the 10s. So the architect will have to frame it based on the old framing and then come up with the right jam detail to make it work. You
For
asked
the
the
addition,
question
for the
earlier,
window.
in the interior and the exterior,
Right, right.
wherever it is. They need to match the detail as much as possible to
Is-
make it look right.
Is that reflected in the plans? That you're saying?
The plan isn't to that detail, but I think we make it one of the condition is
Mhm.
that they will have to
Yes, I would-
work on the structural thickness of the wall to make it so that the detail will look the same.
And
That,
how can we make a condition that would reflect that intent? 'Cause I'm not sure how I would.
if we
word
make a
that.
motion.
I don't want to say
approve,
like
we
to
can-
try to, or, like, how could it be as specific as possible without coming back.
And also, is it, I'm assuming it's going to add a
The,
much larger step to.
when our planning department go out there later to do the inspection time, that's when they can check those. So if it's understood, it's on the record on today's minute that the window detail and the interior door detail should match the existing detail. I know they can be done, so.
Can we be a little more specific as far as what details we're referring to? We can say to match the existing, for example, among the following, the thickness of the,
Yeah,
is
they
there a
will
way
they
to
will
make
have
it?
to, yeah.
Because I'm worried that this would get very watered down and like, yeah, sure, we're matching the windows. It's like the same wood window or whatever. I don't want to be pessimistic. I'm just trying to make sure that the intent of what we're saying would be followed through. So I'm just wondering if
We're
there's a
looking
way
at-
to make this
Yeah.
condition as specific as possible.
Sure, I think we're looking at two detail. One is a window detail, which is a new window, and a new door entering from the master bedroom into the closet. So there's two details there.
Mhm.
I already addressed the interior shear wall detail down below. I think the structure engineer understand, and the architect seemed to understand what I was talking about. So that it would not destroy the exterior face of the the stucco wall. Because once you tear out the stucco, add the plywood, and when you re-stucco it, that
Yeah.
portion will be thicker than the
Yes.
other half. It'll be a terrible detail. So I think he understands that. I already addressed the interior side of it, which
Can-
they can still get.
How would we express that in a condition though, not just saying, okay, they understand what we mean?
Yeah, well, on the interior, I already addressed it. The interior shear wall the shear wall should be added in the interior side of the living room rather than the exterior face. So I can make that a part of the condition.
Okay.
And then the window
Mhm.
and doors, I would address the thickness of the existing wall, and they should match the same radius and thickness of it so that it looks practically
Okay.
the same.
So would you say it in that way?
I
I
can
think
go
you
ahead.
just hit it
Good.
exactly with the words.
All right.
Is
Just now.
is everyone comfortable with the drainage situation, with the routing of the top gutter around the addition? Is that feasible that it will go all the way across?
The
second story.
The green gutter and the downspout.
Yeah, from the second story.
Yeah,
That's,
Yeah,
so it
yeah,
won't
I think
dump
he answered
onto
it.
it won't dump onto the balcony because it's going
they
to
will
go.
not. It will go around
Around, and then
the
this.
edge and they go around and intercept into the existing
I
downspout.
just want to ask a
What's the
question here. I'm
downspout?
sorry.
The
here.
right side. Mhm. Go ahead.
I just want to ask you, we're having a lot of discussions and we're really kind of stepping in to call a lot of design things that's really not here in the plan. Perhaps I just think like even we make a condition like Raymond is thinking and probably proposing. Is that something maybe we want to have a conversation with staff to see if what we're discussing is understandable, it can be executed. So we're not really like,
Would you like
Just
me to
coming up.
answer that?
Please.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so the more detailed, like what the motion that, the items that could be a motion that Raymond was just outlining, where he started talking about the shear wall being added to the interior of the house. I think that's something that can be conditioned. The one about the window detail, did you say radius and thickness?
If the existing window has a radius towards the wood, I think in this, that detail shows
It would
the
be,
ex- the
it would be
existing
helpful.
home has a radius corner.
it would be helpful to know which window we're talking about. So if you have does anyone have the plan in front of them? Well, it could call out which one.
The plan does not show that detail.
Okay, so it's the window, it's the
Well,
window.
It's
at
the one at
master
issue.
bedroom
It's the window at
facing-
issue.
Can I
the window
suggest-
at the master bedroom that.
It should
was-
match the master bedroom.
Yeah, that is where the closet's going. Okay,
It should match the adjacent room, which is the master bedroom.
okay, so
That
let me
makes
rewrite
sense.
that as
If you match that.
as a thing. So replicate master bedroom.
So the master bedroom.
What elevation is that? What elevation is that?
that's the south elevation.
South elevation?
South
South
elevation?
elevation. to be replaced in kind, in radius and thickness.
May I suggest something?
Sorry, the public comment or the public hearing portion has been closed.
Okay.
Can the chair reopen?
Yeah.
The chair can't.
Sure, I can, the applicant can go ahead. Is that what you're?
Yeah, so,
Or comment?
thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to propose maybe a solution. So if you look at the rendering of the the rear east facade, where you see the window of the proposed closet, that's on the very right side of the elevation. If you look at the very far left, you will see a very sort of, it's a little bit bigger window, but it does have that recessed detail, as you can see in the model. And that is window, it's the east facing window for bedroom 201, which is specified in A 2.0. So I guess it could specify, I mean, you could specify to match that specific window, given that it's on the same elevation. When somebody looks at it, you'll see it in one view. So it seems appropriate perhaps to make that window the sort of the standard to match the closet window, because it does have that, the recessed detail that I think we would hope to match.
Okay, great, thank you. Does it also have the tile sill, or is it a wood sill?
I'm not certain about that. I don't have that information on me, actually.
We could just
We
say
have
to
it,
match
okay.
that window,
Yeah.
including the sill, right? Perhaps.
I think it's a wood sill, and we're checking right now.
Okay,
Does that seem more simple, Committee Member Chang, to take the applicant's representative's advice and say to match the
The
window
recess,
of
the depth
room
of the-
201,
so,
including the sill and the radius corners and any other details of that?
I think, okay.
Yeah, I think what was said by the applicant's architect is correct. The rendering pretty much depicts the depth of the shadow line, which means that they really cannot use this regular 2x4 wall. They're gonna have to pick the right size stud to build it to the same depth as the other side, so that when you look at that elevation, it looks the same. So that can be one of the conditions. Once these plans approved, they're gonna have to match this anyway. Planning department can go out there and check that. If they don't meet that, that would not be acceptable.
So the condition could be,
I think-
well, I would ask, I
Okay.
mean, I would want to ask you what the
So
condition
the
should be.
proposed window to match, and I just need the number of the window, or the location of the window that we're matching.
I
It's
think
the-
he said it was room 201.
Right, it's,
001.
That
Yeah,
two
but-
zero one? Let me see.
So in size,
Not size.
The
I don't think
radius,
it's size,
not
not
So
size.
the size that is
No.
the recess.
The recess.
in recess.
Yeah,
okay,
in
uh-huh.
the
Recess,
recess
the
and the thickness of the
corners.
wall.
The thickness of the wall, the radius corner,
The sill.
and the sill.
It's the sill, not the tile sill. Okay.
Yeah, it is 201.
So-
So they will match the same window detail of the room 201 with the same thickness and the recess of the window.
Okay, so I think we've come to consensus here and we've discussed it enough. So if anyone is ready to make a motion, go ahead.
I just also, before you make your motion,
Sure.
I don't know if we've established whether it will be committee member Rick Chow or committee member Tony Chow that will be voting.
Oh,
I believe it's Committee Member Rick Chow.
Should I call for a vote or?
We're gonna-
Sorry, no, you
Ready to
guys-
make a motion?
Sorry.
Anyone like to attempt to make a motion with?
Let me go and give it a try. I move to approve the design review case number DRC 21-15 per staff recommendation with two more additions of the condition. One, that the shear wall is to be added in the interior side of the living room to maintain the integrity, the architectural integrity of the existing architectural wall on the first floor. Item 2, the window at the closet addition is to match the window detail at room 201 in terms of the thickness of the wall and also the shadow line of the wall. That would be the second condition.
I just want to note here that in the discussion, it was, because I want to make sure I have this right, proposed window to match room 201 and recess, thickness of wall, it's sill, and we just added shadow line, is that correct?
And then they show that the shadow line, the depth of the window from the exterior face of the wall will be equal.
Will be equal. Okay,
Yeah.
and then I want to also just make sure that I got the first one. The shear wall for existing wall will be at ground floor
To be
interior.
added in the interior side of the room.
Okay. Okay,
Okay?
Yep.
So that's with the two additional conditions. I think we'll get it covered.
we do still have also, when I want to be clear, the recommended condition from the staff report is that the new window shall be casement window to match existing windows. Are we keeping the casing and then just striking the rest?
You're talking about the staff recommendation?
With
Yeah.
a second, list.
That,
I
I
mean,
think
it's
that can
casement
work
window.
with the same, these two conditions do not clash.
They don't clash.
They
Okay,
don't clash,
Right.
it's okay.
No.
great. Okay.
Great. Do we have a second?
I'll second. And committee member Chang, I just want to make sure staff is clear that the motion incorporated all of the conditions that staff had recommended,
Of course.
plus,
I said that
plus
earlier.
additional ones.
Plus your.
Plus these two additional
Yeah.
conditions.
Okay,
Is it clear?
We have all the
Okay.
conditions, correct?
Okay.
Okay.
Calling for a vote. Committee member Chang,
Yes,
committee member, I'm sorry, Botnish,
Yes.
committee member McKett.
yes,
Sorry, and you guys are gonna give me pronunciations of the name later. Committee member Rick Chow
Yes.
and Vice Chair Crystal Lakin.
Yes.
A motion carries.
Hmm. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
thank you.
Okay, our next item. Design review case number 2156-1505 Circle Drive. Can we have the staff report, please?
Sure, so 1505 Circle Drive, DRC 21-56 is where the applicant proposes a modification to the property as pursuant to City Code Section 23.15.03, matters subject to design review. Such modification includes the installation of windows not found on the city's pre-approved window material list to an existing approximately 7,238 square foot, two-story residence with a detached garage on a 36,162 square foot lot in the R1 zone, District 1.
Great, thank you. Does anyone have questions for staff? Go ahead. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Just curious, do you have any more background on this? I know that it came before us before. Just curious if, I guess, why they chose something off the pre-approved list and I guess any background you have?
Thank you. That's a good question.
I think that would be a great question to ask the
Okay.
applicant or the representative. I have what's in the staff report, but I do understand that this was a project before.
So there was no, just to confirm, there was no like discussion between between staff and them prior to presenting this?
There is possibly, but the staff member who would have
Got
had a
it.
discussion is no
Understood.
longer with us.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
I have a similar question, and I understand that you don't have the information about the applicant's conversations with staff, and we can certainly probe. the applicant. But the staff report does not reference, if it does, I don't see it. The date that this, I guess it's January 6th. I guess that's referenced in project background, but it's not referenced in the project history. Was it January 6, 2021 that it was brought before the committee?
Since this isn't a modification, and I believe this is being treated as a new case, I don't have that information with me at this time.
Okay, thank you.
If I can just offer
ahead.
that information, the first time we reviewed the case was November 4th, 2020. And that was with the remodeling and the windows. And then the second time, they did it without the windows. The second time was January 6th, 2021. So November 4th, the first time, then January 6th, the second time.
I'm sorry, and I'm now seeing that that actually is in the staff report in the project background section.
Thank you. Any more questions for staff? Seeing none. Okay, would the applicant be here to present the project? Great, thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. My name is Alex Chang. I'm the architect and also the owner's representative. More than a year ago, we came back to the design review board to do the rear addition, about 400 square feet. At that time, we were thinking about doing the window as well. And as I mentioned in that meeting, we have talked to many different window manufacturers that on the approved list, Pella, Sierra Pacific, Kobe, and etc. And my client didn't like any of them. So we were just moving on with the project and stated that use a wood window to match the rest of the home. Now the project has been approved. We have the building permit. Permit has not been issued yet. The reason being is that we wanted to take more time to understand more windows besides on the approved list. So what we are asking tonight is that there's no modification on change of any of the design that has been approved. We're asking to you to consider the weather shield window manufacturer to be used on the home. For simply reason, weather shield, we have a representative here tonight. He's going to be talking about the detail of the manufacturer windows. Couple of things that the client really liked is that the when you have a casement window open, most manufacturers have a bar in the middle that kind of block the view looking out. And also the screen of the window is built inside that can pull up and down. As you desire, the homeowner, when they open the window, everything can be open without seeing the screen and so forth. That's why we're back here tonight for your approval. And currently the house is a wood window and doors. They're all single pane. And the last remodel was done 15 years ago, and the wood window has not been repainted or touched up. So we thought since this is the time that we're doing the addition, maybe it's the time to change the entire window to aluminum clad. Another reason, I don't know how many of you been to the site. Currently, there's two different designs on the window. The upper portion on the second floor, which was being added on 15 years ago, that has the sill detail extended out to the wall. And the bottom floor, the window is just recessed with the stucco recess. So hopefully at this renovation, we will bring the both window detail to be consistent throughout the house. Again, on the plan, it shows there's no window. The proportion of the size window and the location has been changed since you have approved more than a year ago. Okay. So that's my brief
Great, thank you.
presentation.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have questions? Go ahead, committee member.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. And I have been to the site and I have seen the property. My question is just that I don't, you know, I don't understand the applicant's interest in going outside of the pre-approved window list. And I'm looking at the list of projects for this product, Weather Shield projects in Southern California. And I don't see anything, clearly, nothing in our city, but I don't even see, you know, in the neighboring cities. And what I do see is a lot of commercial projects. I see that this Weather Shield has been used for the Cellar, a commercial restaurant in San Clemente, El Granero restaurant in LA at the farmer's market, Mastro's in the desert, some hotels, some condos, many contemporary properties. So I'm just trying to understand, because this is not a contemporary property and the committee has not had, cannot be expected to go to the South Bay or Palos Verdes or San Diego County or the desert to examine this in place. And even if we did go to San Clemente or Dana Point or Encinitas to take a look at this window in, you know, on a property, these are not comparable properties. So I'm just trying to understand the desire, what the thinking is.
Yeah, as I mentioned, more than a year ago, we discussed through many different choices. My client just did not like it. And we have a Weather Shield representative here tonight. Maybe he can explain the difference from others that is on the approved list.
Oh, I'm asking you. I don't know that I want to hear the representative from the manufacturer or the company, because this is a property in San Marino.
Right, I mean, the product, that's the reason we're here tonight is we choose something that is not on the approved list.
Right.
So that we are here to present, to show you the detail of that particular window that we like. And that's why we are here. So if you can give us a chance to show you how it works and the thickness profile, head jam seal details, that is looks similar to some of them. It just, that's why we're here wanted to show it to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions?
Yes,
Go ahead.
Alex, I have a couple of questions for you. I think the first thing, which is very important to clarify, because I wasn't too clear. When I visited the job site, I was accompanied by the owner's sister because the owner Stella's out of town. So, and I asked him, are you guys replacing all the windows? And she called and she said, no, we're only replacing certain windows. So could you, that's my first question. Are you replacing all the windows?
Yes, we are replacing all of the
Okay.
window.
Okay, because that's a big difference, because then I was thinking, well, gosh, how are we gonna match things? Okay, so, and what about doors?
Doors as well.
Replacing all the doors, okay, because there are quite a few. So, okay, and then the second question, I also had the same reaction, I think probably most of the members would ask the same thing is,
Sorry.
you first presented, or the owner picked Sierra Pacific, right? Back more than a year ago. Then the committee said, well, you know, we don't think it's compatible. Of course, I understand you are representing the owner. The owner likes this particular, I'm sorry, the Weather Shield. So, so you're presenting rightly so, and just to see if we approve. So the main difference between these two aesthetically, can you just, I think they're probably good, both good qualities. So the main aesthetic difference, are there any besides the screen thing? You explained, I don't quite understand the screen description.
Yeah, if I may refer to manufacturer, the representative.
Of course. Okay, then I just have
Yes,
one
please.
more question then, if you can clarify. If you look at the east elevation, there is a new window, seems like in your plan, there's a added window that's not in the existing structure. Is that am I misreading that? Well, I can show you where it is in your plan. If I can show, if you look at the proposed east elevation, there's
On the plan, it shows a shaded area. Is that
yeah, it's and there's a called out number 2. That window does not exist right now.
correct?
So that is actually a new going to be a new window?
New window, and this was being approved a year ago. This showed the same location.
Okay, so it was approved, well, not exactly a year ago, it was approved in January of this year.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. No more questions. Thank you.
Anyone else have a question? I have a question. Can you tell me how many windows are you looking to change? How many in total?
I didn't count it, sorry, but it will be the entire house.
But do you have any estimate? Like 50, 10?
Cost wise, probably 40, I'm guessing.
And the reason to change all of the windows to aluminum clad is because of what benefit?
It's almost a lifetime maintenance free.
A lifetime?
Yes,
So they don't need to be painted or anything forever?
correct. Aluminum clad meaning the exterior will be aluminum that will, absorb the heat and
Oh.
cold weather without repainting them. Like the wood, every 5 years you have to repaint it then.
Well, some of them you have to repaint, maybe if they're being hit by the sun all day, but
Right.
not all the windows
Yeah,
need to be
but,
repainted. But-
So the window inside will be wood look.
So you're saying it's for economical reasons because it's less expensive
No,
to
this is
change
more
it?
expensive window than the wood window,
So it's a better quality window?
correct, and also performance, dual pane versus a single pane.
Mhm. So you're gonna save on energy costs? Is that,
Yeah,
reason?
somewhat, yes.
Hmm.
Which is very minimal, but mainly is the maintenance free on the exterior side.
so will this material be able to be painted in another color if you ever wanted to change the color?
Probably not recommended by the manufacturer.
So how many years? What's a lifetime? So these are guaranteed for 50 years, 100 years, maintenance free? How many years do they give you the applicant?
Yeah, maybe the manufacturer rep can tell you that. Just like any other commercial aluminum windows, the lifespan, it's a lot further than the wood.
Okay, so these are commercial grade?
No, it's residential grade.
Okay. Okay, but you are using the contemporary line? Correct? This says contemporary on it. Correct?
I think it's the premium.
Premium.
It
It
says,
says, well, this says
premium.
contemporary collection, so that's what that's the example you brought us.
Maybe. it
Okay,
might be just for color reference.
Okay,
We can ask, yeah.
we'll ask the manufacturer's rep, I suppose. Okay. So are you going to be making any custom shapes to match the existing openings?
Yes, and all the arches as well will be follow the same shape.
Okay, and what happens when are most of these windows original to the house from 1911?
Mostly on the bottom floor, yes. The
What,
upper
what about
floor-
the front upstairs? Those are not new? Those are new, I mean, those have been replaced?
All of them will be replaced.
No, I'm saying, but currently at this moment, the front of the house, are they original to the house?
As
To the
far as
best?
I know, I'm not aware of.
Okay, so they're almost 100 years old,
Can the
over 100 years
applicant
old?
tell us? Is the applicant owner? I think she's not here, but
Oh.
is someone else
I'm talking
able to tell us?
So I just want to make sure that I understand. So when the windows go away, are they going to go, where do they go? When you pull them all out? Do they go to the dump, or do they go to a salvage yard or antique stores?
I don't have that
Okay,
answer.
I'll ask the
for you.
applicant.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any more questions?
I just want
Go ahead.
one more question. You have walked the house with the manufacturer of the window, I hope.
Yes.
So I want to make sure that some of the detail of the window currently doesn't come anywhere close to what's being proposed in front of us. So I hope the manufacturer has paid attention to the details of these windows. And I'm going to be asking them in a minute as to how are they going to be able to fit in the existing opening. I'm pertaining to a couple of details like this drawing here. I want them to answer to me, how are they going to be able to do something like this? So I don't, if they just look at it and say, well, yeah, we can do it. And without you looking at it and understanding it, I think you're doing the property owner a disservice. You need to make sure that that's doable before you present it to us. So I don't know whether you have visually understand the detail like this one. But I'll ask the manufacturer, maybe you can come back and add your answer to
Okay,
it. Thank you.
we can have the manufacturer's rep.
And Chair, can I just ask, like,
Go ahead.
this, that perhaps we might ask the manufacturer's representative, I mean, unless I'm the only one who has this idea, to maybe give like a brief introduction to the line and then maybe less than 5 minutes, and then have us be able to just ask questions. I just don't want this
That's
to be
good. Go on.
turn into like a half an hour sales presentation.
Okay, go ahead. Come up to the microphone. Could you
But I mean,
just
I
give us a
certainly want
brief,
to learn about these windows.
a brief presentation about your line?
Weather Shield was started in 1955 after Lee Shield came back from World War II. And
Could you get a little bit closer to the mic, because we have people also on Zoom?
we are a custom wood shop. We still manufacture by hand. So we have moms and dads, just like you and I, hand coping each piece and putting them together. We make wood windows. We make wood with aluminum to the exterior windows. We make a vinyl window, which we don't sell here in California, and we make an all aluminum window. Everything we do can be used commercially. So we do have commercial ratings, because as you know, commercial and architectural ratings are at the height. But 95% of our business is in the high-end residential. We don't do a lot of commercial properties. The reason I put the commercial properties on the list is so that you can go places like Hotel Del Coronado, Hotel California, and you can walk right up to the door, you can go in and you can play with the windows, you can see them. That's why the Lighthouse, Christian Abel's Lighthouse in Dana Point, those restaurants down in San Clemente, that's why they're on the list.
Okay,
In the neighborhood here, yeah, we've done some homes in Marino, probably not on Circle Drive yet, and that's what we strive to do. That window right there is a contemporary corner frame, because at the time when I brought it to Cervantes, the whole idea was to get on the list, not necessarily to limit myself to 1505 Circle Drive. So I did bring some details, some windows that are a mimic of what we want to do on Circle Drive.
so
I'll
you're
be
saying
glad-
that this isn't the product you're proposing for the project?
That is a line The same line I have with contemporary
Well,
square profiles.
Okay, so this is not what we're looking at
No,
for the
it's-
project.
it's not 100% correct of what we're looking at. No.
Do you have today with you what we're going to be looking at for this project?
Yes, I do.
And have you installed these in any historic homes?
Yes, yes, I
Do you
have.
have any examples specifically of a Reginald Johnson house or Paul Williams or
In your
Wallace Neff or
neighborhood,
Roland
no.
Coat, anyone in
Uh,
Pasadena?
Kenny Bunkport. I do have one in Pasadena. I don't know the address. It was one where.
It's on Orange Grove.
It was one where the frame was one color, the sash was another color. I'll have to get you the address.
That's okay.
Totally
We
cool. Historic reference home, of course. And yes, I have gone in front of the historic site board in Pasadena.
Does anyone like to ask?
I do
representative
have a few
questions? Go ahead.
questions. Yeah, if I may,
Yes, go
Chair.
ahead.
Can I share this detail with you? If I may just share that with you. Is your quote unquote custom-made window, how do you address that particular detail?
Yeah, the curved keys on the balcony
Can
right
you
there.
have us
Yeah,
stand
the three, go ahead and answer. You see it and please answer it in public. We do have a detail that I want to make sure that how would a aluminum clad can fit in there correctly.
That is still a design intent that Alex is working on. Can we build one out of a wood window? Sure. Yeah, we've built stuff like that in wood. Can we do it in a clad window? Probably not bending the clad in those tight radiuses, but that's still a design intent that Alex is working on. And the answer to that is still within you.
That was one of my earlier questions to Alex, is that, have you worked with the manufacturer and looked at detail like this? And is that doable? And basically what I hear from you, yeah, wood, you can do it, but
But no.
aluminum clad, in order for it to make it to look right, it's almost impossible. So
In
I,
aluminum bending, yes. In wood, you bet. I've done that at St.
I
Anne's,
understand
which
that
is in
too.
San Diego County. You bet.
These are already
Yeah.
wood.
I think
Right,
I
okay.
think if, I just speak for everyone that way, I think we know that anything can be replicated in wood. I think you're here and the applicant's representative are here to present this. What's in front of us is the aluminum clad. So perhaps we'll have a discussion about, the benefits of the wood windows in this situation, but you're here, as I understand it, with a proposal for this material, the aluminum clad. And I think we're bringing up the fact that that might be very challenging to mimic the historic reference on this house with the
Mhm.
aluminum clad material.
Have you've been to the home?
Yes.
Okay, and you've walked all, and what were your concerns of which windows you would have difficulty replicating?
The two on the balcony that you just pointed out.
The three on the three?
It might
There's
be
of them.
three, hip to hip to hip on the balcony. Yeah.
Yes, they're in the balcony. And those
double curve, can you do that?
exactly
the
with
one
the
that-
same portions?
Double curve?
Yeah.
What's a double curve?
Well, it's a round window within a round fixed frame.
Segmented, yes.
Yeah.
And the door is in the middle.
Can you repeat that into the mic? Your answer?
He said segmented.
Yeah, that's a segmented arch above a door.
Okay. Okay, I think.
So is that something you would be able to do or not with the?
Yes, we do segmented.
With aluminum
arches.
clad?
But like this one, exactly. You can replicate this one, the window and the door, exactly.
That one's a little obscure. We can't do the screen that's on that door. And you'll notice there's a wood screen to the exterior on that door.
Well, there's a window and a door in the window.
It's a door with windows arched around the door.
No,
Yes.
this is not an arch on top of a door. If you pay attention to it, it's not.
It's an arch door.
Yeah, it's an arch door within an arch glass frame.
Correct.
So, and I don't know whether your manufacturer can duplicate something like this.
In clad is what you're referring to.
Yes,
Okay.
in clad. I mean,
That's the only reason we're here tonight is because
Yeah, we're not here to
they
talk
want
about
to
wood.
put an
if we
aluminum
want to
clad
do it in
window.
wood, I don't think we have any problem with wood, knowing that getting the best wood manufacturer, they can give them an all brand new wood window and it'll still probably work well. But clad is a challenge, seeing some of the details.
Clad is a challenge to bend the clad.
It is?
That radius is fine. That's a wide enough radius to bend, if that's what you're asking.
Is that what you're asking?
Okay. I mean, if you said it can be done, that's fine. But-
And-
Yeah.
And the widths. Okay, what was my other question? What about the leaded glass? The lead dividers on the side window facing the driveway.
Are you talking muntin bars in the
Yes.
glass?
I am.
Yes.
You're gonna be replicating that one as well?
Do you have a picture of it?
Probably. So.
So yes, the glass that you have in there can either be reused or made brand new. We do not make glass, but we work with glass manufacturers. They package it in what's called an IGU, insulated glass unit. That's 2 pieces of glass with all the coatings and gas between the panes and spacers that are energy efficient. And yes, we do reuse those and make new and set them in our doors and our windows.
Okay, I have one more question. You said you have done window replacements in historic homes?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
And when you replace the windows, is the house still considered historically significant?
Yes, I have been in front of several review boards within the state of California and other states as well. Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. You mentioned that maybe not on Circle Drive, but that weather shield has been used in San Marino. Where has it been used in San Marino?
I will get you some addresses because I don't have them off the tip of my head. I came up with those specifically because I thought you'd be able to get into them or drive by them.
It would have been much more helpful to have something in town, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we get the notice on Friday.
We can't.
And we
get to
can't drive
these
to San Diego.
places. So, okay.
We're
thank you.
volunteers, but thank you. Go ahead.
That was it. Thank you.
So say we're talking about clad, what's the benefits of this, like side by side Sierra Pacific and your product? Can you highlight the product and kind of explain why people would choose yours?
From the manufacturing of the window, the parts and pieces being dunked in a vat of stuff, giving a 30-year wood rot warranty, to the exterior surface, which of course is aluminum with a commercial grade finish, which is affectionately known as a Kynar finish, offering a minimum of 20 years without any fade, and that's even for the darkest color. So your use of materials is one. The second one be thermally, to have a thermally broken door, window, and get that efficiency, slowing down the heat transfer outside to room side, and the glass package turning into a dual glazed unit with coatings and gases on the window can properly decrease the amount of money any homeowner would spend energy wise and make it better and more comfortable for living, because it's not just about the money. It's about the enjoyment using the house, especially for our younger generation, the new time home buyers, mom at home with new baby, having windows that are single pane leaking is probably a bad idea, especially for children, when we should have been building with more energy efficient windows much sooner than waiting until 2020 to do so.
I have a question. How do your wood windows, do you also do double panes with gas with the spacer bars in between so you can get that, the gases, the low E glass, whatever? Do you do all of those kinds of things with wood?
We do as well, yes. In historic review, often I have to use single pane, but we do offer dual pane.
So you can do single pane or double pane with the wood and match all of the architectural details on the existing home.
Correct. And to put that into perspective, We've got a 10,000 square foot tooling room where we have tools,
Mhm.
dies and knives and router bits and joiner bits,
Mhm.
things that we used back in 55, 65, 75 to
Yeah.
make specific design cuts
Mhm.
that we refer to all the time, especially on a house like this. I had to refer to some of that archive to
Mhm.
find the right molding for the exterior.
I see. Did you, when you were visiting the house, did you suggest or offer the possibility of being able to reproduce in an exceptional, it sounds like in a very easily you were able to reproduce what's already on the home in wood. Did you discuss that with the applicant?
At length, I took those notes and information, and it's been in with my engineers and my plant staff, figuring out if it can be done, how it would be done, and how long it would take, what blades you would need to make the cut. So
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have one more question. You mentioned 20 years without fade.
mhm,
So what happens after 20 years?
that's a really good question. I don't really think there's going to be fade noticeable to the human eye, possibly for 30 years. I'll give you a reason why. A home that we did on the bluff in La Jolla, the homeowner, it was this color, Craftsman bronze. And she said, Mr. Fitzgerald, it faded. Come and look at it. And I took my color chip out there, and my color chip was darker than her windows. And she's right on the bluff, and the windows are wet. You can feel the moisture. But when I pulled out a rag and cleaned it, the stuff on the window came off. It had not impregnated the paint. It had not gotten to the aluminum. That whole house was able to clean up. That was at 19 years, and that was just last year. And when we cleaned it up and I held my sample to it, that dark Craftsman bronze was the same color, zero fade to the human eye. That was pretty cool. There's a lot of people who use this technology, but this happens to be one of the window brands that uses it.
So tell me what's the oldest you've seen it installed in a house?
On that house? in
Any
La Jolla?
any house in Southern California?
Say that again?
How many years has it been installed total? When did you start installing this material?
Oh, about 24 years ago, I think was the inception of Kynar. Before that, it was K-Cron, another baked on version, but not as efficient.
So 24 years. So,
Mhm.
but so you have a guarantee for 20 years it won't fade? Your line guarantees that?
That's dictated by AMA. So that is an AMA, Architectural Manufacturers of American Association, who does third-party testing, and they're the ones who test it on a fence in Florida to do the longevity, to figure out how long it'll last. And they're the ones that came up with the 2605. And yes, we do pass 2605.
Okay, anyone else? have
So
any questions?
it's not just the
Yeah,
manufacturer
I do
dictating
have
it.
a,
Go ahead. Go
thank
ahead.
you. Just a quick note, to just clarify a couple of things. There's actually one kind of local location that you have on your list. Well, we have on the list. It's in Pasadena, 106 East Orange Grove. 106 East Orange Grove. That's the only one I see. So I did, because it's not within San Marino, so I didn't feel the need to really drive to there. And I certainly understand we can't go to, the faraway cities. But that is not a single family home. And so I Googled it. It looked to me from Google Photos, it's not particularly relevant, but I just want to point it out.
Okay, great, thank you.
Then a quick question about the color. You said that you will match to the Black Forest color. When I Googled your website, I didn't even see a Black Forest color. So are you saying that the current owner's paint is Black Forest? You're just gonna match to that color? Or I just didn't see it and it's there?
That was dictated to me, the Black Forest. I have a sample with me if you'd like it.
Oh, that's okay. I thought you had a quick question because I think that's a pretty minor thing in the within the scope for that discussion. So
Okay, great.
that's
Is it, I'm sorry, go ahead. Any more questions? Any more questions? Okay, thank you. Did the
Just one,
homeowner?
sorry,
oh,
one more quick question for the manufacturer's rep. What's the difference between that window that you have there compared to this cut section?
This one's a push-out casement, and this is what they've decided to use. That one is a crank-out casement.
But the structural part of it is basically the same.
The frame and the sash thickness and profile is the same. That one's got square profiles because it's contemporary. The rest of the stuff that I have has a very ornate or, beveled edge. In fact, I brought a corner sample that shows the exterior profile, that subsill, the bullnose subsill, and then the molding that goes around the window. Would you like to see it?
If that's what you're proposing, we should see it. I mean, we need to know what you're proposing before you ask for approval.
I think
Yes.
that exterior casing is most important, so you need to see it.
Right.
Go ahead.
Mhm.
Do you have it for us?
Yep. So the SDL bar or mutton bar shape that you were talking about, so this is it if you want to pass it around, that's the size and the shape. The window itself is push-out casement, so you have smaller profile in the interior, because your hardware is not on the stack, on the sill, hardware is on the stack, right? That's the hardware. The,
It's not a crank down.
that's a crank out, this one's not.
Okay, this is a push up.
It was a design change that I was unaware of when we first set this up. To the exterior, you have a special profile and subsill. The subsill is a 1-inch bullnose, and it sticks out about 3 inches farther than the molding. And there's 2 different moldings on the house. I don't know what the architect originally was doing. I'm sure the windows were manufactured by hand at the job site back in 1911.
Mhm.
So that may account for why some of the profiles are a little different. But this is one of the most predominant profiles on the house. And of course, this is a really cool Californian thick bullnose subsill.
So how does that stucco work with that profile that you're
Yes.
holding? How would that, how would the stucco?
Right
where would
now, the
that end?
stucco is dying into the leading edge right here at the house. This is where the stucco dies, right here on the leading edge.
Flat?
To the recess, they're going to be recessed though, right?
Right, yeah, there's
You're
a shadow line within the building.
Right,
The
correct.
window set within the shadow line, but the stucco comes right up to this leading edge. Just like you see there. Now, that one's much more thicker and pronounced, that's the front elevation, than the side of the house. And then upstairs, as you know, is relatively flat to the wall. It's a little bit different. I think the upstairs might have been built a little different.
No. there's
Not
no-
on the front elevation. but on the
I'm
side.
talking about the front elevation. Okay. You're not doing the front door too.
So these aluminum depends on the condition. They have different thickness to accommodate on the sill and on the, because the thickness of the wall and how the stucco die into it. And some with the deep shadow line, it changes drastically. Window to window,
Right.
location to location. And with this being fixed, how is that gonna work with that? I think become one of our concern.
Oh, it'll mimic exactly what's on here is what we'll do. So this profile here and this profile on the subsill, which on that window there is more like this, will mimic. When you get around the back side of the house, as you know, this goes out like that.
Come over here. for a
She
second.
want to see it.
I just want to look at it in the light with, yeah,
Yes, you got it.
just like
You have a
see the different,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
We have a question for you. Committee
I
member
actually have a
Rick-
question for regarding the door. So you can finish your presentation before I ask that.
Right. I think we're good. Thank you very much. You have a question for the
So my
applicant?
question maybe is for Alex then. Alex, we know we have focused on windows so far. But you're replacing all the doors as well, right? And I'll just ask only about the front door, because the front door is definitely, most front doors are more unique. Can you just take us through the front door replacement?
The main entry door,
The main entrance.
we're not changing that.
Step a little closer to the mic.
Oh,
Main entry door is a wood door. We're not replacing that.
oh, you're actually not
Yeah,
replacing,
only
okay.
the French door that we're replacing.
Okay, so let me ask you one more time. Are you replacing, well, earlier you say you're replacing all the doors and all the windows. So now we're not replacing the main door.
The main
Any other-
entry door,
Okay, yeah, any other doors you're not replacing?
besides main entry.
Besides,
We are replacing that. Yes.
So basically just the main entrance
Yeah.
door. Okay, all right, thank you.
Great, thank you. Is the homeowner, did the homeowner want to make any comments?
The owner is out of the business trip in Orlando. That's why she cannot be here.
Okay, can I ask you then, I noticed a spring sign, welcome to spring, or on the front door. Is the home being occupied right now?
Yes.
Okay. The main home? The front of the home is being occupied
Yes.
with the spring? Okay, okay, thank you. Okay. Anyone have any other questions? We can, okay, thank you very much. Is anyone here for public comments? Do we have anyone?
No, it doesn't look like we have any on Zoom.
Okay, great. Thank you. Then we will close for public hearing, and I will start with Committee Member McKay.
Thank you. I cannot support this tonight. I appreciate the presentation very much. And I don't have any competent evidence to dispute the quality of the product. However, 24 years of product history does not a lifetime make. And concerns like some of the features of the existing windows, while it's a little obscure, yes, there are concerns regarding the windows on the balcony. Clad will be a challenge with respect to replacing some of the existing windows. It just creates a lot of concern. And if there were properties in San Marino, and I have a hard time believing there are, but if there are, I'm just not really clear why they weren't cited to the committee. We certainly would have gone and looked at them and had a reference point. And I'm here tonight with no reference point because we could not be expected to go, to all of these faraway counties in the desert, South Orange County, and et cetera. And as my fellow committee member, Rick Chow mentioned, the one property in Pasadena, you've only listed one. In our neighboring cities is a contemporary condo. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of these are commercial buildings. So, and I understand your point about the quality that's required for especially high-end commercial buildings. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about historic property. We're talking about, one of the assets of our community is the architectural, keeping architectural integrity and maintaining our properties. So I just can't support this tonight because I don't have the information that would be required to feel comfortable going outside of the pre-approved list. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee Member Rick Chow.
Thank you. After hearing all the discussion, I think I might have a little bit more of a contrarian view here. I really have studied, spent a lot of time on this project, walked the grounds, looking at the shape of the windows and doors and all that. I definitely respect and hear all the concerns. the lack of reference is definitely not helping. I mean, like locations we can go and check it out. However, I think, again, I'm reviewing all my photos and all my notes. I think the shape of the windows, and after hearing the presentation, I think this is an improvement. Again, I think my view is probably going to be in the minority group pool. But I just have, I think this will improve the property, and the owner is replacing all the windows. So I think it'll be consistent. I mean, we have pre-list windows that's of the same quality, and this at least meets that quality. So I think I tend to agree with staff's finding that I can support the project and with the added conditions. Thank you.
Thank you. Committee member Betnij.
Yeah, I would not be able to support this evening. This particular house, you know, I just can't imagine aluminum clad windows on this house of any sort. And, you know, I actually was really glad to hear your experience with historical buildings and historical homes, and that you've been in front of architectural review boards and historic commissions before. And I mean, my biggest question here is why aren't you mimicking what's there and reproducing what's there in wood? I think you might be one of the best people for that based on your experience. And I just can't imagine this home having aluminum clad windows all over it. It doesn't make sense to me as a historical home that it would have aluminum clad. It just isn't. It is going to remove a character defining feature, or at least it will remove the historical value of the building. And so I hope that your client can be persuaded that there's a lot of people who come before us and try to tell us that aluminum clad is much better, and I'm sure it does have advantages. Like every material has an advantage over another, but if you take care of wood windows every 15 years, there really isn't an issue unless you're in a really unusual circumstance. And they can be made double glazed, they can be made with space bars, with the gases, with all of the energy saving features, as you mentioned, to satisfy, I think, almost any client. So I hope that you are able to be able to reproduce these existing wood windows with, if the client wants, with new ones. I think it will add to the property, and it will restore the property to its former glory. I think that working on this property is already beautifying it. I think the owner is beautifying it, and I just, my overwhelming sense is that I just can't imagine aluminum clad windows on this property.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Committee member Chang.
Thank you. Overall, the benefit that the designer and the manufacturer rep said about give you better value, dual glaze, and all of that, it's all good. I would support replacing the window with wood window. I think it's the right way to do it, because you can keep the window details, door details, jamb details, and sill details pretty much exactly the way it was, and achieve all these good things that you want to achieve. We did talk about certain details the aluminum clad just couldn't make it, and try to fix it somehow to force it to work. It's going to be a total disaster. It's not going to work. So I wouldn't want to see any of that attempt to try to force something that would not work with this particular detail. So I would not be able to support the aluminum clad, but I would support a wood window. Either from the approved list, and if this particular window want to get on the approved list, I think at the right place and time, we can look at that as a wood window. But that's where I stand right now. I would not be able to support the aluminum clad to this particular home. If it's a different style home, a different location, different type of home, it will probably work. But this particular home on Circle Drive, with the detail of the existing window, aluminum clad is a wrong solution, so I wouldn't support it.
Thank you. Alternative member, Tony Chow.
I think my problem with this is the ambiguous, it's kind of ambiguous. What this case was really about is the windows. And I can't say either which way. I think this is my first interaction with the product. We're still not sure about the color. And then we haven't really seen it. So I really can't say I'm swayed to either which way. I just wish I had a little more concrete feel, so I can formulate a better opinion.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so I think today we are not ready to approve the Weather Shield product specifically for this home of this era and of this significance. It is a Reginald Johnson 1911 home on Circle Drive. It's very significant. I actually believe it was not noted on the historic survey as individually significant, although it's on the survey, because it couldn't be seen. The house is currently covered, as we all saw, with very, very high hedges. And my thought is that it would have been captured had the house been able to be viewed from the street. And homes on Circle Drive I believe they should have hedges 4 feet high. So it would have been noted, correct? It would have,
Yeah,
most
absolutely.
likely
I
have been
can't
noticed.
imagine that if they had been able to see it.
if
that
it had
they
been
would have-
able to be seen
Yeah,
by
no way.
the consultant who the city of San Marino hired for the survey. Most likely.
If you want me to speak for the city of San Marino, I
Please.
can speak with my experience of having conducted a windshield survey. And yes, it is correct that when you cannot see a potential resource from the street, you can't, because you're only doing your survey from the street. You will not be able to actually do a full evaluation on it. But when you're also doing these surveys, you are doing research into parcel by parcel of properties. So it's possible that it did come up, but it wasn't noted as with builder information, as far as I know, at least on the spreadsheet that we keep. So there's no DPR report for it, as far as I could understand, unless I'm missing it from the staff report, that would have some sort of significance that would require further investigation.
Well,
So I know that.
it was on previous reports, but on the final survey, they didn't list any of the architects on that list. So,
That's my understanding.
right, but we all know that what it is. So my thought is that it would have been on that list as significant and not listed as unevaluated. So that being said,
Chair,
think
do we have everybody commented?
you can go ahead.
Okay, if I may ask a question
Sure.
to staff. A little bit of a technical question, I guess, because this is the third time this project related on this property. So the first time is windows and remodeling. Second time without windows, and we approved remodeling. So now, of course, they can move forward with remodeling. My question is, if they decide to go with a window with on the pre-approved list, do they have to come back to DRC?
So,
No.
and my understanding from looking at the instructions or guidelines for applicants that are picking things from the pre-approved list, if it's a similar operation and it's on the pre-approved list, that it should be fine. So
Okay.
windows in particular, just to note, don't have, well, on the pre-approved list, we do note manufacturers for and that have different lines that we can use. Wood windows don't have actually a manufacturer called out for it, just as various right now.
But don't they-
Right,
oh,
so
sorry.
because the first time is, I think, a little bit more interesting because that's certainly, I think, the general consensus. But because the first time they actually presented something on the pre-approved list, but it was like a combination. It was remodeling involved as well.
Okay.
So, yeah, so.
But I think that but most of us, we have a consensus that this aluminum clad material particularly is not ready to be approved in the city, especially on this location, at this location. So that being said,
Mhm.
does anyone have a motion?
I mean, and also I just, if I can, I'm so sorry, Chair. I just wanted to point out that isn't it, someone can use a material on the pre-approved list, but it has to be a like for like you cannot change the grid pattern. You can't change the style of the window. It has to be still very much like for like, which on this property is going to be very difficult to achieve in any aluminum clad situation.
So I'd have to go back and look just to get the right understanding of it. My understanding is that for areas that are not visible, they don't have to necessarily be like for like. There can be some slight modifications for that. So like if you were possibly, I don't know if it would be like if you could go from a French door to like a slider type of window, but
No,
maybe it's like double hung to single hung or single hung to double hung. For the windows on the front, then it's more at the discretion a bit of the planning staff in terms of, because there's a visual impact that, the design review is charged with. The question would be, is it a minimal change that could still be done over the counter?
Well, there's a specific stucco pattern on the wall of the exterior in the front of the balcony on the 3 French doors. That is the one that he was skeptical that he could duplicate. Because the
In
clad
aluminum
material,
clad.
the aluminum clad would not be able to mold this shape. So if we're talking about an over-the-counter approval, you would be essentially changing the actual structure of the exterior.
Is visible from the street.
Yes.
So within the front, we'd probably be looking for something as similar as possible to the front, to what's existing.
So, but if he says they can't make it an aluminum clad, it would have to be wood, or else you're gonna have to redo the house to make a window fit, a
Right,
door
so
fit.
we'd be looking for something as similar as possible to existing. It would have to be, but we're talking about through the pre-approved list, right?
Mhm.
So if there's a pre-approved product that would allow for similar as existing,
Right.
that's fine, but wood is on that list. So
Okay.
if they could do it in wood, that probably would be what would be preferred.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, Chair, if I could just
ahead.
mention, I think that this speaks to alternate committee member Rick Chow's comment that if I understand the sort of the direction you were going with your comment, it's like we were here once with a window and remodeling project, then we were just had the remodeling project, and we're here again with a window project. I think where this is going is, it may not be the best use of the city's time for you to come again with another aluminum clad product, since it has been discussed in some detail here that it would be perhaps difficult that it would be difficult to achieve the windows on the facade, the details that are on the windows of this facade, given what we've discussed tonight. Is that where sort of?
Well, I
you were
wasn't
going with that?
really driving my point to anything specific in terms of efficiency of the process. I was just
Okay,
trying to understand the technical point, because
I see.
this case is a little bit interesting.
Yeah.
The first time was bundled, then we approved the remodeling, now it's the window. So I was just saying, thinking out loud, like, well, potentially the applicant can just go over the counter.
And
Say
they-
that, okay, we just want to pick one, whatever,
If they're able
whatever we
to
And
like.
they
show
could have
that-
done that already if they didn't come with this brand manufacturer. So that was the
Yeah.
choice they chose to make.
Certainly.
And then
Right.
I did notice, we do have the instructions for window replacement procedures. And one of the things that it does say is the proposal is for one of the following must apply in order to apply for an over-the-counter permit using a pre-approved material. The proposal is for a whole house window change out using the same design, size, and operation as the existing windows.
Yes.
Right.
correct.
It's the same
Which will
design.
Pretty much identify that as the replacing the light kind, which is wood to wood. Because if you were to replace, take out all the existing wood window and come in with a pre-approved aluminum clad window. Which we
Well,
do
but it
have.
says windows also have to be changed out like for like design.
That's exactly what I was
Design,
talking
yeah.
about. If they cannot come back and just use any pre-approved aluminum clad window and call it over the counter permit. I think from the very beginning, when they come in with the window and the addition, I think we questioned quite a bit on the window
We did.
side. And they decided there's too much hassle.
Mhm.
We're not gonna touch a window. We're just gonna do the addition at that time.
Mhm.
And now that they got the addition permit,
But maybe you can clarify for me, but it says like for like design, size, operation, doesn't say material.
well, light for
Right.
light is materials, light for light.
It does not say material.
No.
However,
Right.
in discuss, what the part of this discussion seems to be hinged on, no pun intended, is that we can't do a like for like with aluminum clad. So
Right.
we wouldn't approve over the counter and aluminum clad that wouldn't be able to meet the requirements.
Of the design.
of the
Of the
other
light to
part.
light, yeah.
Right.
Okay, so when they choose to do their window application, they will bring pictures of each window
I
in the,
believe that's part of the, the requirements for what they're asked to do.
because there was some pictures shown to us in our packet from the staff report.
Mhm.
And these are the windows that look like they have been maybe done on an addition in the back of the house or some other portion of the house. These are not the exterior front street facing windows that are original. And I think the ones that we're overall mostly concerned with as far as compatibility with the neighborhood and with the house.
So the instructions for photographs are provide a photo of the front of the house taken from the sidewalk and close-up views of all windows or groups of windows to be replaced. Provide at least one close-up photo of a typical existing edge detail of the window. These photos will be used to ensure the new windows and installation method matches the existing windows and installation method.
Okay, so this house is unique in that the windows are all very different, correct? So I think we can move ahead now. don't you
Yeah,
think? Does anyone have a motion? Do you want to discuss anymore?
Well,
I think we're just kind of
yeah,
spinning our
Yeah,
wheels
yeah.
now at this
Yeah,
point.
Just.
Because I
for
think that basically
clarifying.
we would like the applicant, to keep the house in wood
Yeah.
because the shape cannot be replicated in aluminum clad. And that is our main concern here.
Mhm.
And that you are on Circle Drive, you have many historic houses around you. The house, many of them have their original wood windows. They restore them, they paint them, they keep them up, and that's how these homes, they aren't buildings that can be left unattended to stand on their own without being maintained. It's just kind of part of the being a homeowner. So I appreciate, I'm sorry, the proposal, but I think we're ready to make our motion. Is anyone-
I'll move to deny 1505 Circle Drive, design review case number DRC 21-56.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Second.
That was Commissioner McKay, Committee Member McKay.
Can we call for a vote?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner member, not commission, sorry, committee member Chang,
yes,
committee member Botnish,
Yes.
committee member McKay,
Yes.
and who's voting for the, Tony Chow, actually, you're scheduled to alternate to vote, so committee member Tony Chow
Yes.
and Vice Chair Lathan.
Yes.
Okay, motion
Thank you.
carries.
Okay, let's go to our next item. Item number 3.
So third item is Design review case number DRC 21-25 and DRC number 21-73, 1408 Wilson Avenue. The applicant proposes a modification to the project pursuant to City Code Section 23-1503, matters subject to design review. Such modification includes the construction of an approximately 418 square foot first and second story addition and exterior modifications to an existing 2,522 square foot two-story residence with detached garage on a 13,657 square foot lot in the R1 zone, District 7. Staff has recommended that the design review committee continue the project to provide the applicant the opportunity to address neighbors' privacy concerns. And I will note that we were contacted during the meeting that there was an applicant, I don't know if they're still on, who was interested in making public comment.
Okay, great, thank you.
You said an applicant was interested in
I'm
making?
sorry, member of the public.
Okay, that's okay.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm sorry, was that the staff report? That was a staff report.
That was this.
Okay, because is the applicant here to present the project? Can you come up to the mic, please? Can you bring a table up to the microphone? I believe so. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
You could do it by joining through Zoom. You're not already on Zoom. You'd have to mute the rest of your, turn off the volume. and mute it.
My name is Stephen Gui. I'm the owner of the property. We presented to this committee before a different design, and we tried to work with the comments that was previously given to us so that we can address those comments. This is the inspiration we get from the. That's what I was trying to achieve. A comment was made previously about the trees. It was like we didn't know which tree was going to be taken out, which tree was going to be kept. So now no trees are going to be taken out. We already did all the gardening that we have to do. And the tree protection plan is in place. One of the neighbors at 1410 noted that the garage addition is too close to the property line. We removed that addition and since deleted that addition and put it on the northeast side of the property opposite this house. And the other neighbor on the opposite side, 1406, complained about the light access and view and privacy from the second story addition. We removed the second story addition and now we only have the single story addition, just extending for the living room that you see there. But the second story remained the same as existing. And he was concerned also about the oak trees that are in between our properties. I did my due diligence with protecting the trees by getting a professional arborist to evaluate the trees. And he formulated a tree protection plan and he deemed the project safe to the trees and developed the protection plan for these trees. I think member Rich Chow mentioned that there's multiple roof pitches in the rear. I agree with him. So now we are only limited to 2 pitches, which is existing right now. So we didn't change any of the pitches. A landscape plan was requested by, I'm sorry, I didn't recall who requested it, but we have a landscape plan now. A comment was made regarding the large front gable facade. Looking at it, it does look kind of big when my first design. And the remodeled facade, we added a cross gable at the left and a small shed dormer on the right to break up the original massive roof plan and flat facade. We incorporated the front door, and the 4-foot deep extension on the cross gable itself has 2 layers, so to reduce the scale and provide the opportunity for proportional and roof entry. Do you remember the first one? I don't know if some of you were there with the first one, but we changed quite a bit on this one. And we also changed the stucco to now it's shingles, so it'd be more compatible with the design.
Okay.
We also made the shed dormer to the right of the house smaller. Before it was larger and wider, and so that it made it smaller, so that so it balanced the cross gable on the left. Again, we kind of tried to meet the objections and considerations of the neighbors. We eliminated the 2nd-story addition, decreased the addition at the rear, brought it back to towards the property, from the property line, changed the gable to the shed design that will lower the roof line. We're only adding 324 square feet to the house. So the total living area is 2,846. The original existing is 2,522. And when we did our tree protection plan for all the trees.
Mhm. Okay, great.
Any questions?
I
Is
think
that-
we're missing, or the material we have is not up to date or current.
I just don't see a material board.
We get,
He was,
I submitted a material board.
Oh, I mean the project description that we have in front of us, because the one we have in front of us is addition of 418 square feet still.
That's the old one.
That's what I'm.
yeah, this is 418 square feet.
That's what I'm suggesting. That
Yeah, that's the
I
old one.
don't think we have the correct proposal or description in front of us.
Yeah, it also says 1st and 2nd-story addition.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were looking at. That's what I was a little.
The second story addition is only in the front, but there's not living any space. It's just a gable.
Sorry, but I mean, staff, do you know if we have any record of the previous, so we know that, so we can differentiate? It seems like we've seen this before, but the project history states it's the first
Maybe you
time.
were given the original one.
We've seen this
Yeah, yeah.
before. It was denied before.
Right,
about-
right, but
The
But
te-
this one states it's presented
The
today.
plans that I have in front of me were received September 10th, 2021, and I'm trying to compare the dates where it says date design review at the bottom, and they're right now identical, which is the, at the bottom of A-1.01. So these are, as far as I know, plans that we have.
Or could it be that
Just the
it
right.
was
of it.
denied before, so this is starting again, right?
Yes, yeah, this is a new one.
This is,
Yeah.
it is a new one, but
Right,
he's
because it was
submitted a
denied.
couple of iterations. And we have ones that are marked superseded, but
As I
That's already
recall, you were adding more square footage than 400 before.
Yeah,
Right, I think that's
right?
what the question,
Yeah, because then we would be reviewing this case number as a fresh case with the description of the initial case.
Mhm.
We're only adding 324 square
Are
feet.
you asking why there's 2 case numbers?
No, I'm just asking what we don't have, we'd be approving or denying the wrong.
right, you see this one, the
Project.
project description says that he's proposing to construct 418 square feet, but you're telling us
It's 324 square feet.
300, so we
Because
don't,
I think there was a a problem with the patio, and the patio was either counted before, and it's not supposed to be counted.
So the recommendation is to continue.
Right.
We can try to resolve discrepancies between what is being presented right now versus what we have, that I know that we have on plans, so that we can figure out what a proper project description would be.
Okay. So when you wrote this, or this is Marlin, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was presented as a 418 square foot addition.
He
Yes.
changed, Marlon changed that to 324. He
No,
was
it's
supposed to.
Okay, but it is not changed
not
on
changed
on the
for us.
agenda, so,
Right,
Marlon.
He was supposed to.
well,
This is
okay.
what Marlon had, as far as I know. So he has plans right now that match the description that's on the agenda. So that's what we have right now. And that
Okay.
was what was reflected, I believe, in the staff report as well.
okay. Okay, so.
Can I ask staff a question?
Yeah.
Can you just clarify, explain about the garage? Why is it not in our purview?
My understanding was that the additions to the garage were within what is allowed for a ministerial approval.
I thought anything over 600 unless I'm,
I thought it
but now
was
they're
600.
proposing 651.
Yeah, so that would actually have to be part of the review as well. And then
Okay.
that would be an element.
So that should be,
Let us continue the project.
Okay.
We can try to rectify some of those issues.
Okay, so that would be one of them.
Yeah.
Any more comments or questions for staff? Oh, okay. Any questions for the applicant?
Do you have the right front facade and the rear facade? I mean, we're not adding.
We
the
don't,
second
we don't
story.
know.
I-
We
We
think
don't
we do.
know.
We don't know what we got. What we got is 418 square feet
Can
addition
I see how it looks
on your
like?
1.01.
Let me see how.
Well,
it
you know, this agenda item was posted online Friday,
Oh.
so it was there for you to see.
Yeah, so if you don't have the correct plan in front of us, then it is.
We really can't
immaterial.
even,
We cannot act on something that what you think is one thing, what's in front of us is another thing.
true. So should we, Chair, do you want to?
May I say something? If there are people who want to comment from the public who have waited all this time, is it okay?
It is the right one? Then your numbers are wrong.
Okay,
Look
I
at
just-
A 1.01.
okay.
We only have what's in front of us.
Yes,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
But the plans are right.
Okay,
But
great.
the square footage addition is because there's a porch that was not counted before, and it's supposed to be counted. And that's why Marlon was supposed to change it.
Okay.
Okay,
So we do
But
have a
that's,
couple,
I
Can
mean,
we-
we can, like you said, we can fix that later.
we do have a couple people that are
Great.
are
Can we-
asking for public comment.
Can we
With
go to the
this-
public
I
comments
would
right
say-
now? Is that okay? Because we have them waiting?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So
Thank
I
you.
have, Rebecca Chang.
Yes, hello. So I had left something earlier in the chat, on another Zoom account. But here we are, the residents of 1406 Wilson, and and unfortunately, because of some technical difficulties, the camera can't seem to turn on. But we do appreciate Mr. Gui speaking today, and the revised plans that he sent us. However, we still have lingering concerns about the status of the California oak tree, which is still extremely close to the addition on the first floor, which will still require work being done down in the ground, which will impact the roots of the California oak. Mr. Gui mentioned that he has a tree protection plan, but a plan does nothing if the tree will be dead. There has already been another smaller California oak that is already now stuck in between the new fence that Mr. Gui has constructed. But there is a larger California oak, a significantly physically larger California oak on our side of the property. If construction were to be done, the tree would become extremely close to the boundaries of the future property. We also still have concerns with regard to the natural light flow for both our property and theirs, as the way the home was originally built allows both properties to have abundant natural light flow from all of our beautiful natural surroundings with the trees and with the sunlight, especially during the day. But the new plan, it creates a protrusion from the house, and it really is not just the 189 square feet of the proposed first floor. A covered patio is in essence very similar to adding square footage on the first floor. I for one am not too familiar with the technical discrepancy between the two, but they do both allow the property to be protruded from the current end of the building. So from 319, which is what is said here on the plan for the covered patio, plus 189, that is about 500 square feet addition in the back of the home, in the first floor alone. Part of which will become very close to, once again, the live California oak tree, and it will create an unpleasant habitat to live in for both us here at 1406 and the future residents at 1404. Also, we would like to address the addition of the garage. Last year, there were, or who had moved out in August of 2020 or September, there were renters in the home, and they had utilized a 2-car garage just fine. They had 1 car, I believe. And the point is that adding this garage addition of 150 square feet will only add to the number of vehicles that are operating in that very small range, because there's a very small turnaround between the garage and the end of the home, especially now considering the addition of the covered patio that will make the home extend out longer and make it physically closer to the garage, which is an issue because the cars will have very little space to turn around. It creates a very unpleasant atmosphere for the residents at 1404 and for both us here at 1406 and the other set of neighbors who live at 1410. So just the addition of a garage space with the 150 square feet will further exacerbate this existing issue. So in essence, our opposition to the current plan that Mr. Gu has provided is predicated mostly on the addition of 500 square feet in the back, which creates a danger to the oak tree and a disruption to the light flow and the garage, which creates unnecessary additional issues. So thank you very much.
Great, thank you. Do we have anyone else here to speak tonight? No, okay. And that was the neighbor to the west that did send in a public comment, correct?
Yeah, and there was also a letter submitted over
Mhm.
Zoom that has been saved to the file.
Excuse me?
The letter submitted.
Submitted over Zoom?
Yeah, they submitted it in the chat.
Can you
We
read that
can't
to
see
us?
that.
Yeah, would that be ready?
Yes,
We
that
don't,
letter
we have no
raised
access to that.
concerns.
Could that be read into the record?
Trying to open it, but not sure.
Because we don't have any access to the Zoom
Right.
comments. And if you can't read into the record, then it virtually wasn't presented,
So
correct?
we don't have access to it.
I can read off the letter.
Rebecca, you're gonna read it off?
Yes. So the letter basically addresses all the things that I had mentioned, but to read it off word for word, there is a live California oak on 1406's side of the property line,
Same
just
person.
mere feet from the added square footage. Considering the precarious health of this California oak, any addition would be sure to kill it. One smaller California oak has already been completely stuck in between a new fence, which is dug through all of the oak's roots. With this, the property's natural deterioration will accelerate. It is already unrecognizable from the time prior to this current ownership because all the sprinklers have been turned off and the nature in the backyard has died, which makes us even more concerned about the oak tree. Now moving on to the garage. In the letter, it is said that the property's 3-car garage will increase noise pollution for the neighborhood. The property totaling less than 3,000 square feet does not need another garage space. It should be noted that the previous renters had only 1 car and the garage served them very well. Additionally, the historic nature of the garage, which is a beautiful old building from the 1960s, will be compromised with this unnecessary addition. And finally, the addition toward the back of the home at 1408 will decrease natural light reaching both the subject property and ours at 1406. It will make the 2 properties already very close to the property line closer to each other, contrary to the design of Wilson Avenue, which is a more rural feeling street without a sidewalk that emphasizes physical space between neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay,
Chair, would it be okay to ask something based on to ask the applicant something?
Yes, go ahead.
I was just wondering, the applicant seems to think that the water has been turned off and that the landscaping is not being,
No,
Watered, is
we
that-
just did their landscaping and cleaned it up, so I don't know what she was talking about.
is there irrigation? Is the
There is
water on?
irrigation.
Is it being regularly watered sufficiently?
As far
to-
as I know, the gardener comes there and cleans it up and makes sure the sprinklers are on. Also, I mean, you can just look at the front. I mean, we have bushes in the front. They're all green. They're not dried out.
Oh,
Actually, I touched the ground because it all looked so dry that I was curious if the sprinklers had been turned off myself. So,
Do you know for sure if there's irrigation and sprinkler systems that are watering everything that needs to be watered?
Yes,
Okay. There was.
Chairman,
something else. Oh, the other thing I was gonna ask is, she was reading it really quickly, but I believe she said she seems to be claiming that not you, but that whoever made the fence cut into the roots. Is that,
we have the tree protection plan, and those roots that were cut is authorized by the arborist, who is a professional tree person.
okay, great.
mean,
We are,
I'm not gonna cut off trees that are, unless a professional tells me, okay, it's okay to do this one, not okay to do this one.
okay,
Okay,
we're asking questions now from, does anyone have any questions for?
Just one question for the
applicant. I know, just really, I want to bring it back. Okay. Do we have any
So
questions?
it's okay to ask the
Can we ask
applicant
some
question?
questions while we have the applicant here?
Okay, just one question. What do you use this house for? You're the owner, right?
Yeah, well, I have kids that I probably either will live there, or I will sell the house, or I have my parents that might go live there. So there's multiple use for this house.
All right, so
Right now it's vacant.
currently is not occupied.
No, it's vacant right now.
All right.
I'm waiting to get it renovated.
All right, thank you.
It was, I'm sorry, but I thought it was
I have a
renovated
comment as a
already.
member of the public. Can I speak,
Before.
please?
I thought it was already
No.
renovated before it was rented.
No, it's not.
When I
renovated.
follow real estate, so I had noticed that it had been
No,
cleaned up
think
and,
it's not up to my standards.
okay. And you live in town, correct?
Yes, I live in town.
Okay, so do you go by the house very often?
Yeah, I go by the house often. It's-
Okay, then can I ask you about the fence that's been,
Yes,
so the first time you came, the fence wasn't there.
right.
And then you installed the fence and I wasn't sure, but you installed it on both sides, so I
Yes.
figured it was yours.
Yes.
And what is that material that you
It's
chose?
a green material that's supposed to last 20 years. It's a composite.
it's a composite. What is, is it
Made out
wood?
of wood, but it's composite wood.
It's made out of wood?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it's composite wood.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
there's-
when I did the fence, everything was permitted. I did all the property lines. I hired a licensed contractor. I hired a tree professional to make sure that the trees were okay.
so the fence was all permitted.
Yes, they're all
Okay.
permitted. Just all straight up.
Okay, and did we allow composite? Because I know people have brought that
Only
up.
on the sides, not the front.
And do the neighbors have to agree or did your neighbors agree?
No, the neighbors doesn't have to agree unless I put it on the property line. It's 2 inches from their property line. The neighbors didn't want to put this fence up. They had a chain link fence. And I didn't like the chain link fence because I have dogs. And so if I were to move in there, I don't want my dogs to jump over the fence. And the other neighbor had a rotten wood fence that was rotted out. He refused to take that fence down. And I said, okay, well, the only way I can make a new fence is to make it on my property line, 2 inches from the property line.
Uh-huh,
So the fence is on my property line.
uh-huh, okay.
And the
But
fence
usually
that's
when you have
near
ma-
the oak is floating, basically. It's
I-
not going near the oak at all. the
Oh, it's
post.
not.
No, it's floating. So you can, if the oak needs to grow, we can just take segments down because they're all in segments. They're hooked.
Mhm. Okay,
I just want to note that the neighbor is asking if she could make a comment.
is that okay?
It's your public hearing, so.
Okay, go
Yeah, you
ahead.
have to decide.
Go ahead. Yes, I'll allow
She
it.
can
Is that all right? Sure, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So, I do apologize if the I'd come off as speaking quickly, but if there's anything that needs to be repeated, please let me know. I also want to just talk about the irrigation in the backyard. As someone who lives next door every day of my life, I can see that the backyard is not being irrigated because all of the grass that had been there prior to all of this work is no longer there, or it is yellow, which is a rather clear physical warning that nothing is being irrigated, that the irrigation system has been turned off. And also to talk about the
I can
fence.
check on the irrigation for you.
Pardon?
I said, I'll check on the irrigation for you, Rebecca.
Thank you. And then also to talk about the question of who's lived here, I just want to mention that the only people that have lived at this property during the pandemic, or they moved in a bit prior to it, but there was a family who had lived here. But since August of last year, which is prior to when any construction began, even on the fence, the house has remained vacant. Thank you.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone have any questions?
Commissioner Lakon, you might, or sorry, Vice Chair Lakon, you might want to close the public hearing portion. Just
Thank you.
heads up.
Okay, we'll close the public comment section, the public hearing section. Any more questions? Okay, we are ready for committee member comments. Committee member Batnich.
It seems that there's a lot of uncertainty about this project, so I won't go into any details now, but obviously I believe that we are headed to a continuation to provide the applicant the opportunity to address neighbors' privacy concerns and other concerns that have been brought up today.
I've tried dealing with the
Okay.
neighbors. I mean,
I'm sorry,
I don't know.
committee member Chang.
I guess again, when we have a fairly large discrepancy on the footage, that the applicant is thinking one number and what's in front of us another number, which is quite over 100 square feet, which is quite a bit. I don't have I have not gone into the detail checking whether that is correct or which height is correct. But I'm sure the architect is I don't know if the architect is here or they have checked this. But when they claim that on their plan that that's the number, the architect is testifying that the addition is 418 square feet. So we can only rely on that architect's representation. And hearing from the neighbors on both sides, I think there is still enough concern from both sides. And we want the neighbors to live in harmony. So I think the owner and the architect should contact the neighbors on both sides and try.
We did that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, Dr. Gui, this is,
I'm
the
sorry.
public hearing portion has been closed.
Dr. Gui, you can
sit down.
Can you sit
sit
down,
down,
please?
please. Thank you.
This is our committee deliberation, and we're gonna voice based on what we hear. So the project probably need to go back and do some more work and work out some of these concerns and privacy and the protection of the oak tree and all of that concern that we just talked about. So I can support a continuance on this for now.
Thank you. Committee member McKay.
Thank you. I could support a continuance at best, and I would even support a denial. And the reason is this. We have objections, and I understand Ms. Rebecca Chang, I believe, was here and gave her presentation, and we've read her correspondence that was submitted to the committee prior to tonight's meeting. But we also have an objection from the neighbor on the other side at 1410 Wilson. And I have a lot of concern about, good neighbor considerations. And I think these concerns that the neighbors on both sides of the property, not one, both sides of the property. I think they're valid. I'm looking at our design review guidelines. The mass of the building should blend well with neighboring structures. I'm concerned about the scale and mass here. Buildings shall maintain a proportional relationship to buildings on adjoining properties. I'm concerned about the situation with the trees. I'm concerned about the fact that the application does not reference the correct square footage of what we're even dealing with tonight. That's why I could support a denial tonight, because I think we need to start from scratch. And I think it really, really would behoove you as a property owner to speak with your neighbors on both sides of the property. They have very strong concerns. They have concerns about privacy, light, airflow, massing. It just happens that your property has been built in a certain way, and you sort of have to live with that. If you're going to make a renovation, if you're going to have a project like this, it has to be consistent with our guidelines, and it cannot impact the value and enjoyment of the property owners neighboring your property. I don't think that can fly. And I don't think that it's conducive to a good future going forward together as neighbors. So for those reasons, I could support a continuance at best, and I could even support a denial. Thank you.
Thank you, Committee Member McKay. Alternative Committee Member Rick Chow.
Thank you. I think a lot has been discussed tonight, certainly. I would say, again, I would echo what Committee Member McKay just said, for the applicant to really go back and if we were to continue this case tonight, go back, really work with the neighbors, especially the contiguous two neighbors. But I also would like to say, though, for the neighbors, I know at least Ms. Chen is here. I'm not sure about the east side neighbor, to also help your neighbor, the applicant, to achieve their goal, to see that, well, maybe the construction itself is reasonable. The plan is reasonable, but I just don't like certain things. So, work with the applicant, your neighbor. Sometimes the best solution is everybody compromises a little bit. So, you greet each other occasionally, keep a good relationship. That's my hope, of course. Looking at the current plan, the applicant had decided not to do any second story addition, not to push the exterior toward west side neighbor. And to the east side, the way I see it is the east side neighbor really has a very small window looking into the applicant's backyard. Again, I'm not overlooking any of the concerns, but I'm just saying that think about what your neighbor's needs are. If you want to make your home a little bit larger, there's nothing wrong with that. However, just express your concern, work with your neighbor, the applicant, work with your neighbor. So hopefully, when you present the plan, you will take into consideration of all that. And again, I encourage the neighbors to work with the applicant and hopefully, have a happy neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Alternative Member Tony Chow.
Yeah. I don't want to discount, everyone's got feelings and emotions on this. My personal opinion on this is it sounded like there were concessions made. It's just what we're looking at in front of us is completely different from what you were explaining, what the applicant was explaining. And so it's, I can only support a continuance because if we're just looking at the material, we have nothing to really approve or deny in front of us.
Okay, thank you. And I feel the same as my fellow committee members. There's also a couple points I wanted to make, since it looks like we're headed towards a continuance or a denial, that there was a measurement that I couldn't find in the plans. And that was the measurement from the curb to the front of your property line. Since there is no sidewalk, the front of your property is Parkway for the city. And so I know that, I don't know if it's 14 feet, 15 feet to your actual property line. So I think when you return with the plan, that we need to have that noted, the exact measurement, so that we know what area of front yard we're talking about. Especially when you're talking about redesigning your garage, your driveway and the front walkway. I didn't see a roof plan from the top down. Maybe I missed it, but I wasn't sure. I couldn't find it. I also agree with maybe it was your neighbor and maybe some of the committee members about reducing the garage. Because my concern with that garage is it is quite large. There's the new garage. I'm presuming you're going to take down the garage. You're not just going to add a third car space. So it's all under the drip line of that major oak tree. And I think that any kind of construction is going to be detrimental to the tree's health. That area you're in is very park-like and it's full of oaks, and you really need to be sensitive, or anyone who lives in there needs to be sensitive to your landscaping and the neighbors, because they were all there before the lots were divided up. I noticed something in the window placement on the front of the house, which maybe isn't relevant now, but I just felt like the windows weren't well designed, and if it came back, I'd like to see it with just a more appropriate window placement. Okay. And I also wanted to comment on the every time I drive by the house, there is a heritage dumpster on the front yard. And I noticed that Heritage, I kept thinking it was just the garbage dumpster, and I realized that is not Athens, who the city services are. So I didn't know what that was. And I thought maybe that if you had renters there, they were using this dumpster in the front yard and not putting it in the backyard. So as you know, when you come back with a plan, that there needs to be an appropriate area to contain the trash cans for the property going forward. Okay. Thank you. Okay, are you ready? I think that, are we ready for a motion? Or do you want to have a little discussion first?
I could make a motion if that's it. I move to continue design review case number DRC 21-25 and 21-73, 1408 Wilson Avenue.
A second motion.
Can I make one comment?
Can
we have a
date? Do we need to check the date or waive Extreme Line Act?
I think we'll have to work with the applicant for a time for when it can come back.
Okay,
Not to a
so
date certain today.
To an unspecified date.
to a future agreeable
Unspecified
date.
date.
Yeah. Unspecified date.
So that's my motion.
Should we second? Did anyone second that?
I second that.
Call for vote. Committee member Chang,
Yes.
committee member Batney,
Yes.
committee member McKay,
Yes.
and then Rick Chow, I believe you're voting as the alternate this time. Committee member Rick Chow,
Yes.
a motion carries.
Yes.
I don't think you got the chair.
You didn't go
Oh,
right through.
gosh, sorry.
Yes.
Bad. Commissioner, Vice Chair Lakon. Yes. okay,
Yes.
Thank you for that. So motion carries.
Good catch.
Sorry.
Can I ask if you're okay with the front?
No, I mean,
So- once the public hearing portion has closed, can't really discuss the project at this
Oh,
time.
Okay.
I'm happy to discuss it in the office with staff. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
That way I don't have to change the front if you're okay. It's just the back.
Do we have anyone who was here for?
For general public
General,
comment. I don't have anybody indicated right now. Oh, if you have anybody here for open.
Open forum.
I don't believe so. And then on the agenda right now, I believe we have us adjourning to December 1st. But with your consent, I'd like to adjourn to December 15th.
Yes,
That's okay.
yes. Consent?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so
problem.
date of next meeting will be December 15th, 7 PM here at the San Marino Center.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Can I do open forum right now?
You unfortunately can't do open forum on a project that's already been submitted.
Okay.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
open forums for preliminary review.
You're really trapping me there.
I think you need to adjourn. No? Already offline? Already offline?
No.
Do we need to adjourn the meeting or we're already offline?
I think, we're not offline, you can adjourn it. I don't know if you need to make a motion to adjourn.
Did you adjourn the meeting already?
Did I?
Do you have to make a motion to adjourn? or just
No, you don't need to.
We don't make a motion, do we?
I mean, we have
The meeting is adjourned?
Just want to.